Yeah, and it's working now. So much for all of that. Okay, so with our PVC here, we're going to try to test that a little bit more. And so as it relates to trying to resist tilting, so we just talked about how we can resist tilting a little bit here, or resisting rotation, but also trying to resist tilting. If you stood up and you were kind of, I mean, you're not going to be able to carry food to the dinner table. This is going on all the time. You got to be able to maintain a nice upright position here. So let's challenge that. Let's go back to the initial part here where we're going to contract the stomach muscles, contract the glute muscles, and then we're going to push down with the PVC. So we're trying to bend that PVC around our legs here. We're just pushing down, just enough to kick on those lats and those mid and lower upper back muscles. You should feel a little internal rotation working here as well. Now we're going to pull back, bending the elbows, bring that PVC to about mid-thigh here. Okay, now what I want you to do, instead of leaning back how we typically would do, so I'm going to give you a little bit more leverage here when we first do this. And with your left hand, what I want you to do is I want you to push down a little harder, as hard as you can, as if it would almost come up just like that, but don't actually let it do that. You're going to push down real hard with that left hand, okay? Now, believe it or not, the harder you push down, just on that one side, the harder these lateral muscles are having to work here to keep this from happening. So it's resisting that tilting. The harder you push down here, the more those obliques are having to contract, the more that transverse abdomen is going to have to work. Now, kind of back off with that left hand. Let's do that more so with the right hand here. Remember, don't let it fling up. Just push it down. Notice if you kept pushing down, but the leg's not going to move anywhere. This isn't going to go through your leg. What gives would be your spine. But we're not going to let that happen. We're going to resist by contracting those lateral muscles a little bit more. It'll work involuntary unless you kind of try to actually take note of it. It's very easy kind of not to even be aware of it when it happens. Now, evenly pushing down on both, go ahead and extend yourself away. Tilting back, but not letting the chest rise up or face up towards the ceiling per se, still keeping a good hollow. And now, push down a little bit more with that left hand. You should really feel those lateral, front side, kind of like in line right here, pushing down a little bit more. All right, now switch, push down a little bit harder with the right. Where you're breathing, not holding your breath. And now let's push forward and relax for a second. Let your arms, shoulders relax just a little bit here. Now if you want, if you need to, if your chair kind of gets in the way, you can use, or if you have trouble putting the PVC up or anything like that, you can use a strap if you want to. But we are going to make our way to the very front of our chairs. We're going to keep our pelvis fixed in position. We're just going to kind of warm up the shoulders a little bit here. So with the PVC still on top of the thigh here, we're going to really emphasize some internal rotation, and then we're going to raise it off, and then we're going to focus on some external rotation. So when you're pushing down on top of the thigh, go ahead and push down. Hollow a little bit too with those stomach muscles contracting. When you're pushing down with the hands in this position here, you're activating those lats. Those lat muscles are really big. They're strong internal rotators. Okay, so you could almost pick up the pinky and the side of the palm of that hand where the pinky is, and you still can push down with a lot of force into the PVC. You can still put down at least 80% what you're pushing here. Granted, when you put both hands on there, it's a stronger connection. But even if you lift that that outside portion of your hand off and you're pushing down, you're still pushing down with the majority of your force there. So those lats internally rotate the arms. Now, if you were to push down with the outside of your hands, you're probably not going to feel like it's a very strong position right there. Go back, having both hands on. Really push down, really get a good idea for feeling all that on the inside, underneath the armpit, on the side. Relax for a second. And now, not pushing down on your leg, but just letting the PVC rest. Now I want you to externally rotate the arms, and you can do that. That's what this looks like here if I'm going to really exaggerate it. You see how my elbows go from pointing out to kind of pointing down or behind me a little bit. You should really see the front part of the inside of that elbow. It's the same thing as me telling you to kind of bend your bar. Just let the PVC relax here. That's what's going to force the arm to externally rotate. You should feel like your shoulders are rolling back and down almost naturally. It's important for us to be able to do whenever we're doing any pushing motion here, okay? So we're going to raise our bar up. Go ahead and bend that bar as best you can. Now when you're bending that bar, hold the contraction. Don't let go. And as time goes on, try to squeeze a little bit harder. Try to bend it a little bit more if you can. You're going to really feel those arms working, the outside of the shoulders. You're going to notice that those lat muscles are going to pretty much relax for the most part here. One, because our shoulder is flexed. Two, we're externally rotating as those lat muscles aren't doing anything to help us right now. Relax. Keep the bar up here. Pull it towards your chest, or close towards your chest. And then from here, when you pull back, relax the arms, but when you push out, think about bending the bar as you push out. Pull it back in, and relax the arms when you pull back in, but when you push out, really think about bending that bar, and relax the arms when you pull back in. One more time. Really pushing out. Relax. Ooh, not bad. You should feel like your shoulder blades are coming back and down a little bit. Not so much as if like you're bracing, but you'll really feel those shoulders kind of set into place here. It's there to make sure that there's still a nice amount of movement and clearance in the shoulder when you're pushing. That's really important when you're pushing yourself away. That's the exact same thing if, let's say, you were to do push-ups off the wall or off the floor, wherever you would do push-ups off of. When someone's going to tell you what you don't want to do when you're pushing up is you don't want to shrug. This doesn't inherently, no one needs a degree in biomechanics to know this probably doesn't look healthy. You want those shoulders rolled back and down, but you want those arms externally rotating, especially on the way down. So that's the same thing that we're doing right here. We're just pushing away, externally rotating right here, okay? Bring that bar up to touch your clavicle here. And let's work on a little bit more of that upper body. Remember, we're gonna lock in. We don't wanna be tilting, rotating, or anything like that at our lumbar spine. Contracting those stomach muscles here. And we're gonna push that left elbow forward. Relax. Push the right elbow forward. Relax. And we'll push them both forward here. And then relax. If this is an easy position for you to get in, you can bring it behind you and on top, but only if it's not actually on the back of your neck, it's at the top of the back part of the shoulders here. Otherwise, you can keep the bar in front on top. And from here, you can do the same thing. Locking up the stomach, push that left elbow forward, relax, push the right elbow forward, relax, both. Just note that you're not arching when you're doing that here. We're trying to maintain our environment here at our lumbar spine. Not bad? Okay, so what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna have us do the same thing. You'll tilt forward and you're either in your chair or you'll do this standing up, but it'll be on the clavicle, the front. You're gonna contract the stomach, and then you're gonna go one elbow left, relax, right elbow, both elbows, And then once you've done both elbows, think about bending the bar as you push away. Just pushing it straight forward. Relax as it comes back. Left elbow, right elbow, both. Keep them forward. Bend the bar and push away while trying to bend the bar. Very good. Let's do that 2 more times. If you want, you can join me. You can do that standing up. What we're going to do is we're going to bend our knees slightly. Bending the knees slightly, tilting forward about 20 degrees or so. Okay? Getting ourselves in a position that's probably not that comfortable. Keeping the bar in touch with our collarbone. Left elbow forward, right elbow forward. Both are coming forward, making sure that we're not arching our back at all. Now try to bend that PVC as you push away and extend. Relax the arms as you pull it back. We're going to go left elbow forward, right elbow forward. Both. Hold. Push away. And hold and continue to bend that bar. The shoulders should be rolled back and down, not shrugged. And relax. Shake your arms out a little bit. A little rough on it right here, right? If you need to, kind of shake the legs out a little bit. So what we're going to do some hinging here. So if you're in your seat, all you do is just go from an upright position to a forward position, and then you should be able to do any of the movements that we're going to do with the PVC. If the PVC gets difficult to hold for a long period of time, that's where the yoga strap can definitely kind of give you a break there. But if you want to, for the next one here, you can have it in front, or you can have it behind you, whichever one you want to here. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of practice doing the movement here. Remember, this gives us a nice little cue here to help us activate those upper back muscles here, okay? So we're going to push those elbows forward, keeping the stomach nice and tight. The elbows are slightly, our knees are slightly bent. Thinking of weight distributed throughout our feet as the big toe outside portion, or that base of that pinky toe and the ball of our feet here. Everything is in a nice balanced position for our weight. As we bend and tilt at the waist, we don't want the weight to shift forward or back. It should stay evenly distributed throughout, okay? So you're just going to hinge at the hip. Now, if you just hinged forward, notice that your hips kind of have to shift back a little bit to make sure that the weight stays even throughout your feet. So do make sure that you are able to make that adjustment. If you are seated, make sure you're actively pushing through your feet. Okay? Now we're going to do that left elbow forward, right elbow forward. Relax, both. Make sure you're staying up nice and tight. Now we're going to add in a little rotation, okay? You're going to rotate while you're tilted forward towards the left, picking that left chest up, or turning that left chest to the side. Both elbows are still pushed forward. You should feel all of those muscles throughout your trunk. Cross-sectionally activate, and we're going to rotate all the way towards the right. Now you're breathing still keeping those core muscles nice and tight. When you face up, come back up, stay tight, don't let go. Relax the elbows for a second here. Okay? We're going to push them forward just enough, just a little bit. Not as far as you can, just a little. Now we're going to tilt laterally towards the right. And then towards the left. And back towards the right. Pushing the elbows forward just a little. Last time towards the left. And then back to the middle. Go ahead and bring that PVC down, let your shoulders rest for a second here. Whew. right? You can feel that here. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to work on a little ankle mobility. So what I would suggest is if you are seated, if you have a chair in front of you, you can kind of scoot up towards the chair a little bit like this. And you can put your ankle, your hand on the chair and your ankle on the chair just kind of like this here, okay? Now, it might be difficult for you to completely get your foot up all the way just like that, but if you can, that's beyond a gold star here. If you're standing and your balance is probably not the strongest, or you're not making money off of your balance, what I would say is have a chair nearby. What we're going to do is we're going to put one foot up on the chair. We're going to work a little bit on some ankle mobility. Okay, and from here, so that's what I was saying. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, you can switch to having a chair out in front of you. We shouldn't be having a shortage of chairs in here. Or you can scoot yourself to a wall. You can face the wall and put your foot up against the wall there. You can do that instead. But if you want to, you can have your foot up on the chair. And all you're going to do here, if you're already seated down and you're going to do it against the wall, you don't really have to do too much. But if you're standing up here, all you're going to do is push. What's important is you keep your heel. Don't let your heel lift up. But you're just going to track your knee straight forward overneath the toe. Just like that. You should feel a little tightness. Now make sure your heel is on top of the chair. You don't want your heel hanging off the chair, off the front of the chair. One thing that can also help is if you can just put both hands, if you want to. If you're already leaning forward that far enough, then you can just put both hands on the arms of the chair. And now, kind of like your torso is kind of pushing that thigh a little forward here. Don't go too far. Now, if you're seated, all you got to do is lean into it a little bit more, just like this. Let the knee bend a little. And you can kind of, if you have your hands on the top here, you just kind of lean forward a little bit. You should feel a good stretch there in your calf. Go ahead and come out and relax for a second. If that's a little too rough for those of you who are seated, then you can go kind of like halfway through and then just push the knee forward. So, and you can just kind of bend the knee a little bit or pull your heel back a little and then just kind of push the knee forward a little. All right, so let's go one more time, same side, same side. We're going to push forward, and then we're going to add one little thing here. All right, so think about, you're going to focus on your knee. I have hands on my knee, or I can have one hand on the chair, one hand on my knee. And now we're going to do little circles here. Push, kind of pushing forward, letting go, pushing forward, letting go, kind of coming in, and then we're switching directions, now going the other way, keeping the heel down. You want to keep that heel down. You want to try to keep weight in the heel as best you can. Okay, now pushing just straight forward again like we were. And backing off. And then we're going to switch legs. If you're having trouble, if you are seated, trying to move around a little bit with the knee, all you got to do is just kind of maybe scoot a little bit closer to the chair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it a little closer.
And where's your back leg? Is your back leg?
Your back leg is not locked out, but it is straight behind you. It's kind of acting almost like a kickstand, but not that you're leaning against it, but that it's kickstanding you and pushing you away. So that back leg is straight, and it's just kind of pushing your weight forward there. Now again, what you want to do here first is make sure the knee tracks over the middle of the foot in that direction. You don't want it going towards the outside or towards the inside, just straight over top, and that the heel stays down. You'll come back, ease off of it for a second. Then we'll come forward again, and this time either with one hand on the knee or both hands on the knee. We're going to start doing those little circles. Kind of pushing forward, then in, then back, and letting go. just adding a little bit of pressure just to push it forward a little bit, just to get it going. And switch directions. And now just let it come straight forward. And letting it come back. Kind of wiggle that ankle out a little bit here. Or wiggle that foot out on one side. Then you can switch to the other side here. So what's important is when we're squatting, you can have great hip mobility, and that's good. But if we have poor ankle mobility when you squat, when you go down to pick up things, your knee can still compensate a little bit. Or what happens is the hip tries to compensate, or the lower back will. Good ankle mobility is you don't have to worry about the knees buckling in when you're squatting down, and the knees should track over the laces of your shoes. Not on the inside of the laces, but laces of those shoes a little bit there. And of course, we never kind of squat like that. The hips extend a little bit, and the hip joint actually flexes, but the knees should be able to track over. They used to tell you what's important about a squat is your heels stay on the ground, which is true, and that your knees don't go past your toes. That's not true. Not everybody's femur and tibia is the same length, but we still have the same number of joints, and the joints don't get bigger. So it's okay if it goes overboard, just as long as the femur is allowed to externally rotate, the knees stay open, and the hip stays open. Then it's okay. And there's no problem with that. Basically, it was hating on people who were tall. And that's not fair. All right, so next thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna get into a little lunge position, okay? So we're not gonna actually use any prop here. What I'm gonna have us do is we're gonna place one hand, let's right hand on our chest. Actually, I should probably do this first. Left hand on the chest, right hand on the lower back, just like this. Elbows are pulled back. So I'm pulling my elbows back, that will pull the shoulders back here. And we're gonna get into a nice little stance here. Now, if you're on your chair, just make sure that you're shifted to the very front of your chair so you can get your hand behind you. And then you're gonna take a staggered stance. So if your right hand is behind you, make sure I got that right. Your right foot is forward. If you're seated in a chair, all you're gonna do is pull your left foot underneath the chair. So that the back heel, so that the heel of that back foot is off the ground. That's the same thing as saying if you're standing, my back heel is off the ground, both knees are slightly bent. And from here, as I'm pulling those elbows back, staying up nice and tight, tightening up my core, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna shift forward, okay? As we shift forward, we're gonna bend at the knee, back knee, okay? So it's gonna look like this. Just enough where you can still put weight in the heel of the front foot. If the weight completely shifts towards the ball of your foot, don't go much further, okay? Back knee is bending straight down, and you're shifting the body weight forward just a little, and you're just gonna push back. Back knee down, shift the weight forward a little bit, and then we're just gonna push back. I'm gonna do that one more time. There you go. Those of you who are seeing, you're just tilting forward a little bit more. Don't, make sure you're still keeping those elbows pulled back. And then we're gonna switch. So my right hand's on my chest, left hand's behind the lower back. Now I'm pulling those elbows back. It's gonna help take care of my upper body posture. Left foot is forward. So that same thing as saying if you're seated, you're just gonna scoot your right foot underneath your chair, lift that back heel up. Both knees are bent. Make sure if you're seated that you're actually putting weight in the foot that's on the ground in front of you, that left foot. And our back knee's gonna bend, and we're gonna shift the weight forward. Should feel a nice little stretch in that hip flexor, perhaps, depending on how deep you are. And we're just gonna push back and away. Make sure that you're not tight roping it, that you also have space width-wise, not just length. Back knee comes down, pushing the hip forward a little bit. You should still be able to push through the heel, the foot that's in front of you. Pushing back. Last time, back knees down, pushing forward a little bit here. And coming back up. Woo. Shake that up just a little bit here. Take a breather if you need to. You can do a little lap around your chair. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to, if you are seated, make sure you have a chair in front of you. If you're standing, just come to the back of your chair. We're gonna have our hands on top of the chair, and we're just gonna reach our feet back a little bit here. Okay, so if you're seated, you're at the very front of your chair, just kind of push the chair that's in front of you that you're holding on to away from you a little bit, so that way your arms are straight. From here, if you're standing, you'll probably have to adjust a little bit. If you're seated and you have to adjust, then you just kind of scoot your hips back in the chair a little bit. What we're gonna do from here is we're gonna kind of go into a little hollow position, contracting the stomach muscles. If I had to, I can let go and I'm not gonna fall forward. So think about your weight right here, okay? I don't want us like leaning on the chair. It's a nice assist, but you're not completely reliant upon it. Hollowing from here. I don't want our upper body to be working that much here. You should really feel your legs having to bear the burden of staying in position. Really feeling that back round out. Contracting your glutes a little bit, you'll feel that pelvis tuck a little. Relax. And then hollow again. One more time, make sure you're breathing. Make sure that both legs are working. Try to get a good idea about if you're centered or you're balanced. Are you leaning towards one side or the other? Now we're going to go into a full arch. Now when we go into an arch, I want you to think about pushing the palms down. They're not actually going to come up. Pushing them down, you're going to feel that chest lift up, that back's going to arch. Arms are straight, shoulders are rolled back and down. That pelvis anteriorly tilts. So you feel like there's a lot of tension in that lower back. We're going to relax for a second. One more time. Pushing down with my hands here, it's going to help lift my chest up a little bit. Really arching that back. My shoulders should be squeezed back and down. You shouldn't have to work too hard for that, but if you're pushing down with this here, that will kind of help assist with setting your shoulders back and down. And now we're going to go immediately into a hollow position. Contract the stomach. Now here's the hard part. We're going to go back to the arch and see how it goes. Slow it down. Keep it slow. See if you can go from an arch position to a hollow and a hollow back to an arch without the weight shifting forward or back in your feet, okay? So we're already in a nice hollow position. Let's go into that arch. As soon as you kind of arch, it's almost like that weight wants to shift towards the toes. And now we're going to go into hollow. So still keep your weight in the heels, not just in the toes. Let that back round out. And arch, one last time. Letting that chest lift up. And then hollow last time. Breathing. And walk your feet forward. Relax for a second here. All right, so we're going to do one little hollow here. We're going to reach down when we do this here. Same thing, kind of make sure that your weight isn't shifting forward, your weight isn't shifting backwards, it's staying in position. So I'm not bending over forward. I'm just bringing that sternum down, contracting the stomach, sliding my hands down my thigh towards my knees. In this position here, you can really squeeze your glutes pretty well. You can get a pretty good contraction with the abdomen here. And your arms are just relaxed. You're just kind of reaching. You're not really squeezing them onto your thighs just yet. Now think about raising the shoulders up slowly, letting your hands drag on the front of your thigh. Still kind of hollowing a little bit, but starting to raise up more. And the more you become upright, I want you to start squeezing the palms of your hands to the front of the thigh. So that by Time that chest is almost completely facing forward, you can really feel those shoulder blades squeezing back and down. You're still squeezing your glutes even in this position here. I don't want us to go into a full hollow, I just want us to get into a nice and neutral position, okay? So at the very top, really squeezing at the palm of your hands, real hard into the front of the thigh. Your head should be relaxed. The glutes are squeezed, the abdomen is squeezed. Now very slowly, keep squeezing your thighs into your hands to your legs. Slide those hands back across your pockets on your sides, just like that. Now squeeze in. And slowly reach down with the fingers and relax your hands. Relax your shoulders. Keep your stomach squeezed and your glutes squeezed. Standing tall through your heels. Now let go of all of that muscular tension. Take a deep breath. Exhale slowly. Let the ribs draw down themselves this time. Inhale passively. Exhale and just notice those ribs kind of coming down. Good. Good job, guys. Good done today. Thank you again for tuning in for everybody at home. It was definitely a video that I'm not going to be able to put up on there. I'll have to redo that one there. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all next time. And thank you all for joining me in here. Again, by the end of